It was my last day of high school, and I couldn't have been more excited and relieved. Senior year was finally over, and the future was wide open. It was a bittersweet moment. Saying goodbye to my friends was harder than I thought. Change was coming, and I had to embrace it. That morning, a storm of family issues put me in a foul mood. By fifth period biology class with the notoriously awful Mr. Harding, I decided I'd had enough. Mr. Harding had a reputation for being a tyrant, and today was no different. I skipped his class and headed to the library, planning to lay low until 6th hour. I found a quiet spot in the back, hidden among the computer desks, and started playing games on my phone. Not long after, the school's intercom blared to life. This is a lockdown. Follow lockdown procedures immediately. I assumed it was just another drill. Our school did these regularly. But then I heard screaming. Muffled, distant, but unmistakably real. My pulse quickened. This wasn't a drill. I panicked and ducked under the computer desk, trying to make myself as small as possible. Minutes crawled by. I checked my phone and saw dozens of frantic messages from my classmates. Where are you? This is real. My heart dropped. The reality of the situation hit me like a freight train. Alone in the library, I waited, praying it would all be over soon. Suddenly, I heard footsteps echoing down the hall, growing louder, closer. The library door creaked open. Someone entered, their shadow stretching across the floor. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness, searching. I held my breath, terrified. The light swept closer, and I knew I had seconds before I was discovered. I decided to face whoever was head on. I stood up, my voice trembling. Hey. The flashlight swung toward me, blinding me for a moment. Then I saw Tyler, an old friend from middle school, holding a gun. Tyler, what are you doing? I asked, my voice barely steady. Tyler had been my friend years ago, but we drifted apart in high school. Now he looked broken, tears streaming down his face. Put the gun down, I urged him. For a moment he hesitated, then crumpled to the floor, sobbing. I kicked the gun away and knelt beside him, reassuring him that we could fix this. After what felt like an eternity, he agreed to turn himself in. We walked to the office together, where a teacher led us to the waiting police. As a witness, I explained everything to the officers. Tyler remarkably complied fully. It turned out Tyler had been dealing with relentless bullying and a troubled home life, compounded by mental health issues. That day could have ended in unimaginable tragedy, but somehow we averted it. The experience left me shaken, a stark reminder of the hidden struggles many face and the importance of vigilance and compassion. Tyler's story is a call to action, a plea for understanding and support for those teetering on the edge. We must do everything we can to prevent such horrors from happening, to ensure that no one feels so lost and desperate again. It was a day like any other at Ridgewood High, but it quickly became one I'll never forget. I was in 10th grade, and it was just after 3rd period. Lunchtime was our favorite part of the day. My friends and I would scarf down our food in 5 minutes and spend the rest of the time goofing off. We were in the middle of a particularly rowdy game when the PA system crackled to life. This is an emergency alert. Please follow lockdown procedures. Go into the nearest room or building, lock the door, and turn off all lights. The principal's voice, usually calm and composed, sounded panicked. It wasn't a drill. My heart began to race. In hindsight, what we did next was incredibly stupid. As the school's power shut off and the cafeteria plunged into darkness, my friends decided it would be hilarious to sneak out through a side entrance. Despite the knot of fear in my stomach, I followed them. We made our way to the main hallway, where the only light came from the faint, cloudy daylight outside. After a while, we split up and it was just me and Andrew. We crept through the eerie, silent halls, our footsteps echoing in the darkness. Suddenly, 3 gunshots shattered the silence, followed by screams. Panic surged through us. We bolted for the nearest exit, sprinting as fast as we could. We made it outside and ran across the soccer field, heading for the woods behind the school. As we crouched in the woods, police sirens wailed closer. We knew they were looking for the shooter, but we were terrified of getting caught for sneaking out during the lockdown. The fear of getting in trouble mingled with the terror of the situation, making our hearts pound even harder. After what felt like an eternity, police officers found us during a sweep of the premises. They detained us until they caught the real suspect. The shooter, a boy from another school, had come to Ridgewood with a gun, targeting a specific girl. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the terror of those moments lingered. The most chilling part: the shooter looked eerily similar to me, same height, same hair, even similar clothes. The police quickly realized we had nothing to do with it after we explained everything. That day, I learned a hard lesson about the seriousness of lockdowns and the unpredictable nature of danger. It was a normal day turned nightmare, a reminder that safety is never guaranteed, and vigilance is crucial. I'll never forget the day I ran into him. It started like any other day in my junior year of high school, but quickly spiraled into a terrifying encounter that still sent shivers down my spine. I had to make an emergency trip to the bathroom. My stomach was in knots, probably a nasty stomach bug. As I hurried through the hallways, desperate to reach the restroom, I heard a faint whistling coming from the end of the corridor. The closer I got to the bathroom, the clearer it became the whistling was coming from inside. I barged into the bathroom, hoping for some privacy to deal with my predicament. The whistling didn't stop, which was mildly annoying, but I had more pressing concerns. I dashed into a stall and did my business as quickly as possible. After what felt like an eternity, I finished and stepped out to wash my hands. The whistling man, who I barely glimpsed, remained in the bathroom. Trying to avoid eye contact, I hurried to the sink, embarrassment creeping up my neck. The man's presence was unnerving, especially as he continued his tuneless whistling. As I was washing my hands, the man approached me. He stopped just a foot away, close enough that I could feel his breath on my skin. My discomfort turned into outright fear. I looked up and our eyes met. He had a cold, vacant expression that morphed into a sinister smile. "What the heck, man?" I blurted out, backing away. He didn't respond, just kept that eerie smile plastered on his face. I rushed back to class, my heart racing. I texted my friend Elias about the encounter, and he told me he had a similar experience with the same janitor. We agreed it was creepy, but we never reported it. Later that day, Elias, our friend Peyton, and I decided to walk to our favorite diner. We often took a shortcut through a wooded trail that started on school grounds and ended in a nearby neighborhood. As we walked, we talked about the creepy janitor, with Peyton chiming in, even though he hadn't had any direct encounters with him. It was as if talking about the janitor summoned him. Up ahead on the trail, we saw a man. As we got closer, Peyton asked, "Isn't that him? The janitor from school?" Fear gripped us as we realized it was indeed him. "Let's turn around," Peyton suggested, but Elias and I kept moving forward, too scared to backtrack. As we passed him, he stopped and stared at us. Then he called out, asking if we wanted to hang out. We ignored him and quickened our pace. Suddenly, he started jogging towards us, and that's when we saw the knife glinting in his hand. We broke into a full-on sprint, screaming for help. We ran for what felt like forever, hearts pounding, until we finally lost him. Shaken, we regrouped and made our way home. The next day, we went to the school with our parents and reported the incident to the principal and the police. What we learned was chilling. The school had no idea who this man was. He wasn't a janitor at all. He was an imposter, a convicted sex offender who had been posing as a janitor to get close to students. The realization that he had been lurking around the school undetected was horrifying. The authorities assured us they would tighten security, but the damage was done. The school, a place we thought was safe, had been violated by a predator. I still believe he intended to do more than just scare us that day. Some people are so twisted that it's beyond comprehension. The memory of his cold smile and the glint of that knife haunts me, a reminder of how quickly a normal day can turn into a nightmare.